Do you know that femur is actually not an English word? As usual, it is actually borrowed from Latin. And the word femur means thigh. So it means the bones that are located between thighs are called the femur. And now, do you know the interesting fact about the femur? The interesting fact about the femur is that it is actually the strongest, the longest, and actually the heaviest bone in the body. And now, it is capable of withstanding a stress or of bearing a weight of about 30 times of your own very weight. So which means if you are weighing about 40 kilograms, it means 40 multiplied by 30, that is going to give you 1,200. It means your femur is capable of bearing a weight of 1,200. So if you are 100 kilograms as well, it means 100 kilograms multiplied by 30. So that is what that is what the femur is capable of withstanding. And now, don't you think it is highly important for us to learn about this marvelous bone? So if you are right here and if it is the first time, do make sure to subscribe and hit the notification icon because I don't want you to miss our future videos. So let's just dive into the video. Hi guys. Yeah, welcome back. Yeah, welcome back. So today we are going to be discussing the femur. The what? The femur. And now to describe a bone, we used to use our acronym, which is ATSLA. ATSLA. Now the A is either the AKA or any fact about the bone. Any fact about the bone. The second thing, which is the T, is the type of bone it belongs to. The S is the shape. And then the L is the location. So the A is articulation. And the P is the part of that bone. Now, to start with, the body is AKA. There is no AKA for femur. So, based on my own knowledge actually. So, now talking about any fact about the bone, you can just say the femur is the longest, the strongest, and the heaviest bone in the body. And that is a fact about the what? About the femur. Now, the next thing is the type of bone it belongs to. It is actually a long bone. It is a what? It is a long bone. And now, talking about the shape, you strike it out so it doesn't assume any shape, or let me say it doesn't assume any known shape. Now, talking about this location, the location of the femur is actually the thigh. You can just say it is the sole bone. It is the sole bone of the thigh. So it is the sole bone of the thigh. That is the only, that's the meaning of sole, the only bone of the what? Of the thigh. And now the next thing is the articulation. Now, this femur, it actually articulates superiorly and inferiorly with just two bones. Now, let's say this is a part of the pelvic bone. The pelvic bone is actually the bone of the hip. Now, if this is a part of it, this part is called the acetabulum. So, acetabulum. So, this acetabulum is just a cavity, just like that of the scapula called the glenoid cavity. So, you know, within the scapula, we're talking about the humerus. We said we have the what? We have the glenoid cavity, where the head of the humerus articulates with. So, this place is called the acetabulum. And now, the head of the femur is actually fixed into the what? Into this cavity called the acetabulum, and it forms the what? The joint between the femur and the hip bone. So that is the what? That is the articulation of the what? Of the femur superiorly. So you can just say the femur, this bone, articulates superiorly with the what? The acetabulum of the hip joint. As simple as that. And now inferiorly. So continue the diagram downwards. So the femur, it articulates inferiorly. It articulates inferiorly with a bone called what? Called the tibia. So called the tibia. So that is the medial bone of the lower leg. We're going to be talking about that later. So this is the what? The articulation of the femur. So it articulates superiorly with the acetabulum of the what? Of the hip bone. and then inferiorly with the what? With the tibia. As simple as that. Now, talking about the part, we've got to talk about the diagram. So let me just drop the board and start talking about the part of the what? Of the femur. So, I'll be right back. Yeah, welcome back. Now, talking about the diagram of the femur. So, how do we go about that? So, you start with the head, which is the proximal end. So, the head. Now the neck. But let's explain this one after the other. Now, this is the head now. The head. So the function of this head is to articulate with the what? Is to articulate superiorly with the what? Sternum. So, which is the sternum of the what? Of the hip bone. To form the hip joint between the what? Between the femur and the hip bone. Now, after that, there is an important thing you have to know about the head. The head presents with a hole. It presents with what? A hole. And this hole is called fovea capitis. Fovea what? Fovea capitis. Now, what is the function of this hole? Now, this hole, it actually has some kind of ligament that runs from it. And that's the name of the ligament. The name of the ligament is called ligamentum teres. Ligamentum teres. Now, what is the function of this ligamentum teres? We know that the head articulates with the what? With the sternum of the hip bone. And now, it bears a cavity called the fovea capitis. And within that fovea capitis is a what? Is a ligamentum teres. Now, what is the function of that ligamentum teres? Now, we said the end of the femur articulates with the acetabulum right here. So let's assume that this is the acetabulum. Acetabulum. Now, and this is the head of the femur. The head of the femur. It has a cavity called the fovea capitis. And now, this ligamentum teres, it protrudes from the what? Or it extends from the head of the femur. And it attached itself to the inner wall of the what? The inner wall of this sternum. So it's just some kind of securing the head of the femur into this joint. So that is the function of the ligamentum teres. So it secures the head of the what? The head of the femur. So as it protrudes from the femur into the what? To attach itself with the inner wall of the what? Of the acetabulum. As simple as that. Now a quick recap. So the proximal end of the what? Of the femur is the head, the hemispherical head to be precise, and it's articulated with the what? With the acetabulum of the hip bone. And it bears a cavity called the fovea capitis. And from the fovea capitis, you have the ligamentum teres, which protrudes into the what? Into the inner wall of the acetabulum. To do what? To secure the head of the femur. As simple as that. Now, what is the next thing? The next thing is just the neck. So, inwards, outward like this. Same thing here, inwards, then outward. Now, this is what? This is the neck. Now, this neck is actually the most frequently fractured part of the what? Of the femur. So the next thing you have are a greater and the lesser truncator. Now, this place is called the greater trochanter. Greater trochanter. Why this place is called the lesser trochanter? Lesser trochanter. And now, this line between these two trochanters is called the that is between trochanter, just like that of the humerus. We use the word tubercle, greater tubercle, lesser tubercle, and intertubercular, that is between the two tubercles. If you have not watched our video on the humerus, I'm going to drop a link up ahead. Just make sure you check it after the video. Because the femur and the humerus, they have a lot of they have common things. So they have a lot of things in common rather. So now this line between these two trochanters, because it is between the two trochanters, it is called inter. Because in anatomy, the word inter means between. Now it is inter. It is between what now? Between the two trochanters. So intertrochanteric line. Anteriorly, it forms a line like this. But if we are doing the posterior view of the what of the femur, it's going to give us what we call intertrochanteric crest. So that one apart. Now, what is the function of all these surfaces? Their function is just to serve as a surface of attachment for what? For muscles. As simple as that. Now, inferiorly to this trochanter, we have a surface right here, and this surface is called the gluteal surface. Gluteal what? The gluteal surface. Now, what is the function of this gluteal surface? The function of the gluteal surface is actually to serve as a surface of attachment for some kind of muscle called the gluteal muscle. Gluteal muscle. So that is the function of the what? Of the gluteal surface. Now, after that, what next? So let me just continue with this diagram. So right at this junction, rather. Sorry about that. So you trace the line downward a little bit. Diverge it and come back there later. So you do the same thing to this side too. So you diverge and come back there later as well. Now, this shaft, the mid part, so it's called the linea aspera. The linea what? The linea aspera. Now, this linea aspera, it does not serve as an attachment for what? For muscles. Why? It is because it is actually round, so well rounded and what? And smooth. So it doesn't serve as a point of attachment for what? For muscles. And that is all I have to say about it. As simple as that. Now a quick recap. We said the femur presents with an hemispherical head. So the hemispherical head rather. So the head articulates with the what? With the acetabulum of the hip bone, and then it's presented with a cavity called the fovea capitis. And the fovea capitis rather presents with a ligamentum teres. And the ligamentum teres, it's secure, it protrudes from the head of the femur and secure the head of the femur with the what? The acetabulum. So next thing is the neck, which is the most frequently fractured part of the what? Of the femur, and it connects the head with this trochanter as the other part of the what? The other part of the femur. So the next thing is that this greater trochanter and this lesser trochanter, they are separated by intertrochanteric line anteriorly and intertrochanteric crest posteriorly. Now, that the case, their function is to serve as a what? Surface of attachment for muscles. So the next thing is the gluteal surface. So the gluteal surface serves as a surface of attachment for what? For the gluteal muscle. So which is the muscle of the buttock actually. So the next one is the linea aspera. So it does not serve as an attachment. It does not serve as a surface of attachment rather for muscles because it's well rounded and smooth. Now, coming downward right here, we have two condyles. Two what? We have two condyles. Two condyles. Now, this condyle and this condyle, they took their name from what we call the anatomical terms, the positions to be precise. So this place will be the lateral because it's away from the midline. So this is the lateral condyle now. Lateral condyle. And this right here is called the medial condyle. The medial what? The medial condyle. Now, what is the function of these two guys? Their function is to articulate with a bone inferiorly, and that bone is called the tibia. So there's actually a bone lying under the what? The bone lying under the femur, and that bone is called the tibia. So this is the tibia. So the function of these two guys is to articulate inferiorly with what? With the tibia. As simple as that. And now look at this place. This place is called the patella surface. This is wrong in anatomy, so ambulations. But that's because I don't have enough space, I'm just going to do this. So this is what? The patella surface. Patella surface. And what is the meaning of that? In some textbooks we find that the patella fossa. Patella fossa. So it is still correct. Now, the word patella right here means the kneecap. So that very kneecap, we say somewhere in the bone, we talked about while discussing the classification of bones. Now, if you say the patella surface, it means the surface for what? For the kneecap. If that be the case, the function of this patella surface will be to house the what? The kneecap. As simple as that. So the kneecap will be just right, just around this place. So your kneecap is right here. So the function of the patella surface is to house the what? To house the kneecap. The kneecap is called the patella. As simple as that. Now, what next? The next thing is actually this epicondyles. We talked about them in the humerus. Can just make reference back to the video to get that. But I'm not really interested in that for now. What I'm interested in is actually the posterior view of just this distal part of the femur. If we have to take a look at the posterior part, so it's going to give us something of this nature as well. Nearly the same thing. Sorry. Now, this place now, it won't be called the patella surface now. Around here, this shaped part is called the intercondylar fossa. Intercondylar fossa. Now the question is, why is it called the intercondylar fossa? These two guys, they are called condyle, right? If that be the case, if you say inter, it means between. If you say intercondylar, it means a fossa, which means a cavity. Fossa means a cavity or a space. So it means a space between two condyles. As simple as that. That is why they call this the intercondylar fossa. A space between these two condyles. So this place is the intercondylar fossa. And now, what is the function of the intercondylar fossa? It's actually a little bit complex, but let me just say this for now. I'm going to fix it in our next video on tibia. So it serves as a form of attachment for what we call the cruciate ligament. So, and that helps in what? With the articulation of this guy, this femur with the tibia. We're going to be talking more about it then. And now, slightly superiorly to the intercondylar fossa is a space called the popliteal fossa. Let's say this is the posterior view of the what? The posterior view of the femur. The popliteal surface will be around this place. And this popliteal surface, the popliteal artery passes through it. So somewhere behind your what? Behind your thigh. So closer to the knee. So like there's a kind of artery that passes through there. It's called the popliteal artery. So the popliteal artery, it passes over this popliteal surface. And it is actually used to check for what? To check for blood pressure. So that is that about the femur. Now I'm gonna clean the board and come with the diagram one last time and just label it. So if we want to just come in with an ID diagram. So let me just quickly take a break and then we'll do that right now. Yeah, welcome back. So let's quickly do a recap. So the first thing, the head of the femur. So the head of the femur. So we call this the head. And now the fovea capitis. Fovea capitis. It is not compulsory for you to label the ligament interest. You can just leave it. So, and if you like, you can still add it. So fovea capitis. So we said the function is that it has a kind of ligament called the ligament interest. And that secures the head of the femur with what? With the hip, with the sternum of the hip and bone. So the next thing is the neck. So the constricted neck. So the neck, and now we have our trochanters. Now, this is the greater trochanter, and this is the lesser trochanter. So the next one is this line, which is the intertrochanteric line. Intertrochanteric line. Now, the next thing is your gluteal surface. So gluteal surface. Gluteal surface. The function is to serve as a surface of attachment for the gluteal muscle. Now to talk about the anterior, you double your line. So same thing right here. So this place is called the linea aspera. And I said it is smooth and rounded, and because of that, it doesn't serve as a surface of attachment for muscle. So the next thing are two condyles. So two condyles. So this one is called the lateral condyle, and this is also called the medial condyle. Now, that is that, and then right here we are going to have the patella surface. So patella surface. So that is that right diagram of the femur. So conclusion, as usual, we've come to the end of this video, and I am damn sure that you've learned a lot from this video. So if you enjoyed the video, do make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you are new here, remember to subscribe and hit the notification icon And please do invite your friends, because I am damn sure that there is someone out there who has not heard about this institution. Please kindly be our patron by doing that for us. And until next time, I will just tell you goodbye for now.